if you think of something.
Okay. Hi.
But because it was always shaded, we could get all the light in, and that's why that window in the rear there came to be, because we had a wallaby that came to visit regularly, and he would always walk up to the window. It was sort of a lot steeper, and walk up to the window, and we could look out and say hi regularly.
A bit of a hide. So
Yeah, so we built it over there, but stupidly on a rental property. And then as soon as we were sort of mostly finished, the landlord went, I said I wouldn't increase the rent. Sorry, changed my mind. Because he obviously thought that there was no way we were going to move. At which point we went, well, actually,
we just happened to
thought about this. And it's all constructed in panels. There's big floor panels, and the walls are all in panels, so that we could actually take it apart. And then we transferred it here, which was quite hard in the sense that you see our access here, and the other house was 80 steps up from the road.
Oh my God.
So we got ourselves a footy team, an actual footy team, and they helped us carry all the panels. So it was actually an operation it was like half a day, and they had it done. It was amazing.
So
like
it's
little
kind of
ants
where
just
we-
going, you saw the building just run down the mountain.
Yeah, it's a bit tired after that.
You were.
It's kind of where we because we'd started the practice over in Ostermeer, we had a beautiful site, but the house was falling down, and it got mouldy and really damp, and it was not that nice to have clients come. And he came along, and there was like baby toys everywhere, messy, and so we got a bit like we don't have enough work, but
Well, we also couldn't work from the house.
Yeah.
It's not a sustainable
yeah,
business, I think. We did that for quite a few years, working from a bedroom, but there comes a point where you need that separation.
you just don't feel like you're
Not a
being
huge
proper
separation, but even now,
person.
that is our house
It's like
here.
still a
But
student, you're
just
working
leaving
in
the
the
house,
bedroom
walking out the door
with your
makes such
partner.
a difference.
Yeah. So then
Yeah. So it's built for the two of us,
Yeah.
really.
the first version of it is actually because we didn't have any money.
It was like
That's
a
the
train
first version of it, which is
wagon.
a single skin plywood building. That's a desk in the back there. That's 1 to 50, 1 to 50, 1 to 10.
1 to 20.
It's 1 to 20. And it's like a caravan, basically, which is quite funny. We realised that once we made the model and drew all the drawings and were ready to build it, we realised that was actually the same size as the bedroom that we were working in, and that Kat and I would be back to the same situation where I'm on the phone
we
all
were
the
sitting
time.
on one desk, on one wall, and
Yeah.
so we went, actually, let's
That's
just
not gonna
rethink this, because Brent's talking a lot sometimes on the phone. That's really annoying. So that's when we came to the conclusion we needed to change the layout, and we made 2 little offices, basically, that had at least a little bit of separation between us.
And it's really a full exercise in what can we do with standard sheet sizes and carryability. So standard, as you know, that the 1200 evolves from that sort of practicality of someone being able to carry it, because a 1300 white sheet is ridiculously hard to carry. I don't know if you've tried, but it's just that little bit extra. And so all of the panel bays in here are going in this direction at 1200, because we didn't know, we knew we'd move it, so we didn't know it would have the same orientation or anything. So the roof can go on the other way around, the cupboards at the back can go at the front, the desks can, so everything can change. The 2 ends, the window could go to that end, which I wanted to, but Kat refused. Wanted it at her end, so we only had one window. But we could potentially, I could build another one anyway.
Yeah.
But so all of these, and what that taught us was how ridiculously hard it is to build. Like, there is no magical grid. We did a lot of research into Japanese construction and about tatamis, and so this has got it's got full width 1200, but then we found that one bay was too small for a. This was initially the meeting area. 2 was too long in that space where it was before. So we went back down to the 600 grid, and then we got these doors from another house, the copper house we were doing at the time, was available,
I think the
because
doors
they were.
directed the...
Yeah, then the doors directed this whole thing, because we had them for free, but they're all part of that 600 grid again. It meant that basically we just in the backyard just built all the panels on the ground and the construction of the timber and put it all together. And I said the learning about the grid was kind of fascinating because years and years later we ended up finding out that tatami grid is actually something that is not solved in Japanese construction either. There's 2 or 3 versions of it. One where they have the structure in the center of the tatamis, and one where they trim off the tatamis so that they fit into the room thing. So that was kind of good. And then this building led to a whole bunch of other things for us. So we put it up again here.
Which it was relatively swift. So the structure went up only in a week or 2. But then we did a whole lot more fit out after that. We had no cupboards when we moved here. We managed to, it actually gave us a bit of drive to finish the building, which was quite nice, in adapting it to the site, because we took one, it had the same end here, and we took one end off and made that the connections of the deck that was in front became part of the deck here.
This was the old deck that used to be part of it.
Yeah.
We cut that up and brought it and then used it for the cladding and used it for this.
But it was quite interesting in that we moved to a site that was so similar in orientation that the whole idea of being able to switch the roof around and things like that, we didn't even have to do it. It basically just came here and landed in the right spot, and it's working just as well. I do on this side we do get a bit of sun in now occasionally, so at some point we have to solve that issue. But other than that, it's working just as well. This location, which is lucky. But it, as Brent was saying, it sort of led to development of that flexible layout of a building. Then we had a friend who came to help us construct it again, and his background was in stage building and film making and things like that. Set design, or not set design. So he did he did work in the Star Wars set and things like that, which is why he was so good in helping us pack it up and put it back together. He knew how to label the stacks and set them up in a way that you could grab the top thing and it would be in the right space. And then sort of talking and working with him, we realised that there was something in there, and so we ended up actually founding a company with him, which is a design build company doing a sort of evolved version of this one, less complicated in its detail, which was Joint Modular, which is the other company, which for years we've sort of been trying to get. We set out to do granny flats really, with a system similar to this, where there was modules that could be reconfigured in a way so they could adapt to different sites and locations and landscapes. It's turned out to be.
It's difficult. I mean, the idea being that you invest
space,
all your design time in the upfront, so that there's a design system, and so that you can adapt that. And if you need to have a window this side or that side, or to chip the roof and things like that, you can adapt it to a site without changing the detailing of the building system. And that's great. But we were doing it for granny flats, secondary dwellings around here, which is generally around that 60 square metre mark, which means that you've got kitchen, bathroom, little tiny living room, little tiny bedroom, pretty much all the expensive parts of a house on the part of the block, which is the really challenging part of the block out the back, where the sewer is, no access, all of those challenges that is the reason why the house wasn't built in the first place. So, and then we're doing it in this environment. Here's one we prepared. So this is the joint, well, that's the one that was probably the purest evolution from this studio here. And that's down in Thirroul there.
So that's an actual granny flat for granny?
An ex-granny. It's an ex-granny.
Yes, sorry. I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah.
So that it's interesting in the sense that made us really happy, because it's the only one, so we built quite a few, and it's the only one that actually is the original idea and the layout, and where everything was in its modularity coming together in the way we intended to. All the other ones we build, they're great too, but they are completely customized houses, which is when you lose the advantage of the modular system, particularly as a building company, your financial advantage.
And it's particularly in this area, like we were saying, Chris, is that we've got landslip risk, we've got bushfire risk, we've got flood risk, we've got there's probably heaps more as well. There's a whole bunch of overlays around here. So we found that we couldn't get the economy of scale going where we had like 6 of the same ones, where the idea being that the first one was slim margin, delivered at a really affordable price. But then the next one, because it was in the queue, we could make up a few extra wall panels from the leftovers that we'd ordered for that one, and they'd be waiting. But we couldn't get that continuity going within the scale of operation that we had.
Well, and also I think there's an issue in itself with the client not wanting that. They don't want the house that we've already built. What they want is, oh, and by the way, could we just add this other half size to the bedroom? And also, I want that view over there, and then it becomes a lot more challenging. So we've built mostly actually houses out of the system, which is sort of a pavilion model, but it's become so we haven't continued that as of last year because it's just such a difficult space to inhabit as a building company. Because the modular, what people obviously sort of think about is modular, affordable, great. And the reality is that because what we're after is still a crafted outcome, it's not as affordable as you might think. It was very challenging for us to keep the price at the level that we're wanting to pay it out.
Very soon you found that the building company was kind of competing with the architecture company, and there were a few occasions where we had someone come through and do a whole design with the system, and then we get it costed and they go, look, that's just too much. But I've still got this amount of money, I should be able to do something. And then you put on your completely outside of that system head again, and you go, well, why don't we rethink this? We can just build you a little box, and that'll work under your deck the way it's meant to work. And suddenly they've got the Airbnb they wanted. Suddenly their life is great, and they've completely. I mean, that was the architectural skills that solved that problem, not the building the building system. So I think probably a lot of you will come up against that. I mean, pretty much all of our friends have all had some investigation into modularity and repetitiveness of design, productizing
There's a lot
design.
of famous failed architect design modular.
Yeah, there is, but I think it's a really important. Like, what's kind of interesting about it? It's not. We don't think it's the answer, but it's led us to a whole bunch of other economies in our constructions with our architecture.
Well, it's more exactly that it's taught us things we're now using for custom design projects. We've learned about certain efficiencies that we can get out of this, and we can implement that in custom design houses, which there's a lot of lessons in that.
Funnily enough, we moved here because we love this house. It's very falling down now, but it's a merchant builder's home, it turns out, designed by Terry Durrows, who's an architect up in the Pittwater, probably in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
More like the design.
Kit home built here, and what we've since discovered is that the kit home came with a instruction saying you have to cut something, you made a mistake. And there's some cuts through here.
There's
the person who assembled it didn't, so it's failing and all those things. But it's got the 1200 grid. It's got the ring beam that runs all the way around the stud frame walls. And so when we had this building, we turned up here and went, oh, this will work. We turned up and put this up and kind of went, wow, that's kind of all.
And it's oriented similar. You see it back now, so it's ring beam here, but to the other side it opens up to the outside in exactly similar. Pattern, which is big.
So there's kind of like we've had quite an interest in those lessons again and again. How do you produce affordable buildings for people? That's kind of. I think it's less important that every single thing that we do is expensive and overly worked, but it's really important that you think about why you're doing something, the intention behind why you're doing it. Am I doing this just to kind of allow that person to sell their house quickly and make a profit, in which case that's one value proposition, or am I doing this to enhance someone's life or to give something back or to offer an opportunity? It's opportunity finding that we really enjoy the most. So like that playhouse, there was this great opportunity to kind of unlock that block for the family, but for the community as well, for to kind of start that discussion in that area.